Nearing the end of the first day, late into the evening, amid all the non-stop shelling, reverberating echoes of rattling small arms fire, and explosions of impacting anti-tank missiles and rockets of various sizes and varieties, all installations ringing the city had been subdued a bit earlier in the day. The very last to fall, outside of the city, was Fort George, around 5 p.m., to 3 battalions of mechanized infantry forces of the 92nd Mech Infantry Division of the PLA 31st Group Army of the PLA of China. Beyond that, other units, battalions, already had entered and penetrated deeply into the metro area, some going even as far as reaching into the northernmost neighborhoods of DC proper. Such constituted by 3 mech infantry battalions and an accompanying ADA battalion, which all came from the 92nd Mech Infantry Division, with the tank battalion directly to their south to guard their flanks, which came from the 93rd Mech Infantry Division of the 31st Group Army. Talking about this right here, going down in here. And these other elements, these Mech Inf and ADA, are right in here. And the tanks came down in here to clear this up and guard their southern flanks. This, upon it having annihilated the last pocket of resistance in the area, prior to facing south towards the larger pocket of resistance in the eastern suburbs. This giant pocket of paramilitary and mixed units in the eastern suburbs. Facing this eastern suburban pocket has been since early afternoon 5 mechanized infantry battalions, 2 artillery battalions, and 1 air defense artillery battalion, an ADA battalion, in the southern suburbs earlier. Another mech infantry battalion of the 93rd Infantry Division, Mech Infantry Division, had crossed the I-435 Beltway Bridge spanning the Potomac River, and by nightfall had reached into the southern suburbs itself, deep into them. By nightfall, also, 4 mechanized infantry battalions and 1 ADA battalion were held in reserve of the 93rd Mech Infantry Division. These are where the reserves are, out in this area outside the city, in wooded and farmland. Meanwhile, to the north, in the northern part of the city, elements of the 92nd, which were covered earlier, such as those Mech Inf and ADA battalions, as well as the tank battalion here, and also a few other Mech Inf battalions, backed up by a reserve force of 3 mechanized infantry battalions being held in the northern suburbs here, just outside the Beltway area, had been fighting very, very brutally so, pushing their way in deep, and by the very end of the first day, had not only pushed in through the north into the outer neighborhoods of DC proper, but also coming in from the northwest as well, coupling to make a pincer around the Walter Reed Army Hospital in the far northern corner, pushing back the paramilitary and mixed unit elements of U.S. forces. U.S. paramilitary forces were considered light paramilitary, being that the best they had were MRAPs for their little SWAT vehicles and some small arms, and whatever the military was kind enough to share with them as far as heavier weaponry is concerned. The only paramilitary element that had any of heavy weaponry of its own was the C to the I to the A here out at Langley, the suburb known as Langley, where their HQ is. Being that they constantly facilitate shuttling heavy weapons around the world to specific groups, they doubtless had access to such things. One such thing being javelins, which they used to mild effect against some of the Pakistani armored vehicles of the main battle tanks that had virtually backed them to the river in Langley along their battle lines. By 11:45 p.m., Belarusian units, 4 battalions of which, of their 8 from their 11th Mech Infantry Brigade, arrive in the suburbs of the Cap en route to the Air Force Base and Naval Yard in the city. By this time they are here, and by day 2 they will have established themselves just to the west of the eastern suburban pocket and just to the east of the Air Force Base and just south of downtown itself. I will continue going into day 2 as it's almost midnight, ending day 1 officially on the next video.